Danny started with the horses, I think, when he was like 13, 14 years old. He, instead of going to school, he thought he'd hang around the racetrack and try and make money. Danny always liked to make money. But he also loved the sport with a passion, too.
Well, we all kind of worked the backstretch of Sackville Downs, a lot of us, and Danny's not that much older than me, and I remember thinking, you know, he's pretty young to have his own stable. And a friend of mine had a horse with him, Bob Samara, had a horse I think was called Ray Bellboy. Danny just seemed to be able to get him to the winner's circle and keep him around every year, so it was pretty obvious that he could drive a horse early. And you had to be impressed that he had his own stable, you know, at such a young age. But he just kept improving year after year. You know, he's had a wonderful career.
Danny says what he thinks. So if he thinks something, he's going to tell you right up front. And I found over the years when we've had horses with him, something wrong, he tells you. Or I think some guys, they keep the horse and just to train him. Keep training. Never going to amount to anything. But he tells you right up front. He doesn't think it's going to make it. He'll let you know. Saves a lot of dollar value down the road for you.
My father bought a chestnut colt in Salem Truro in the mid-'70s named Aaron's Blazer. Got him back to Sackville Downs and promptly gave him to Danny Romo. And it was really obvious early on that he was going to be a nice horse. He was, you know, a good gaited horse. And I remember saying to Dad, like, what made you decide to give this horse to Danny Romo? He's awful young. And he said, he gave me kind of a sly look. He said, I already know he can drive a horse, but what people don't know is he's a good horseman. And we're going to prove that. And he was right. He never looked back. You know, I heard people say over the years, you know, Aaron's Blazer put him on the map. I don't think it's true. I think Danny put Aaron's Blazer on the map. He was a tough horse to drive. He was real jumpy and jittery. He had extreme speed. And he made speed breaks, and Danny was the guy. He just seemed to have control of him all the time. And you know, they ended up being 2-year-old of the year, 3-year-old of the year, and raced against the top horses in Atlantic Canada as a 3-year-old. And that's unheard of. Aaron's Blazer was sold as a 3-year-old, and Susan, pretty soon she had a son, which they named Aaron. The horse was a big part of their lives, and Danny was a big part of making that horse who he was for my father and for our family. So, yeah, it's always been. Every time I see Aaron, I said, you know, you're named after a horse, right? He said, yep, that's good, cool.
Before Danny trained horses for me, he also, I trained my own horses for a time, and I always wanted Danny to drive. He was my number one driver. Danny is a great driver. He has patience. He always saved the horse a little bit for the next time out. The horse will always give his best for Danny. Danny treats them well, and he's just an all-around great driver.
With everything, harness racing can be dangerous. You have 8 to 10 horses out there besides your horse. You have to be cautious. You have to keep your distance from the other horses. You have to be ready for that instant something happening wrong, and you have to react to it real quick. I don't think you can mention any drivers that were not involved in an accident or something just because of the chain reaction, and in the old days with the hub rail, which was a real dangerous thing. And I think he's been a very safe driver over the years, and he had a lot of good luck because of that.
This is the Governor's Plate. This is showtime at Summerside. There they go. And they're in the home stretch now. Stars, Style, and Chivalry. Paperback on the grandstand side. Coming home. Governor's Plate. 38. Danny Romo and Paperback on the line.
Well, I didn't think it was going to go that way because I didn't think anybody would tackle PH breakaway that early. But like I say, they did. You don't know the horse race. You don't know what's going to happen. So that made it better for me.
Well, it's great to have you here tonight in Summerside, and congratulations on the Governor's Plate win. Vance, up to you.
Thanks a lot, Lee.
I think all the drivers in Atlantic Canada love to race against Danny. There is some drivers out there that can be a little reckless at times, but Danny gives everybody lots of room. He's a gentleman on the track. He'll never block anybody out, and like I say, he has a lot of respect from pretty well the whole driving community in Atlantic Canada.
As a driver, Danny, I would still to this day describe him as fearless, and that's unusual too. As you get a little older and you've been in some serious accidents with, you know, thousands of pounds of horses and steel shoes coming over you, yeah, your mindset can change a bit. But Danny has maintained his ability to drive a horse. If he's going to leave, he leaves. He's going to go in a hole, that's where he goes. He'll move early, he's whatever it takes to win, and he's been kind of fearless that way. Paid a price like they all do with his body, getting a few of those heavy accidents, But to his credit, he has remained a guy that's simply not changed his style for my money. I mean, I've watched him all my life, and every year he's back, so. When Danny started in the business, the racing at Sackville Downs was 52 weeks a year, and it was 3 days a week. Truro raced 2 or 3 days a week. You could go to Cape Breton and race a couple days a week at either track and the island, and there was a lot of racing. But over half of Danny's career has been a reduced racing schedule, once a week at your home track, and not as much racing opportunity away. So for his accomplishment, that 3,500 wins really is special.
Windermere Nancy, they're homeward bound. That's April Dawn Star, the leader. I'm a force up the inside. Gilda is there. A's glory on the far outside. Wow. Romo, 3,500 winners if he got her there. She was last by the 3/4. She might have got her nose on the line first. 1:59.3.
Those are actually incredible numbers for Atlantic Canada. In Atlantic Canada, for example, Truro, they race 1 day a week. They used to race 2, now they're racing 1 day a week. If you're racing in Ontario, you're racing 5-6 days a week. And to have them kind of numbers in Atlantic Canada, like I say, racing once, twice a week, it's phenomenal.
Danny's horsemanship, I think, is recognized all over the region. In fact, I know it is. Every year he just keeps coming up with good colts, good fillies. He's a world record holder with probably the greatest maritime bred ever. A horse called Firm's Phantom won 28 races in a row and equaled the world record.
I gotta go 6 and Mike McDonald, 7 Firm's Phantom and Danny Romo. This is the 9th race. This is a race time. They're off and pacing, and Firm's Phantom on the far outside leaving out.
When Danny got Firm's Phantom, he broke him, of course, trained him down. He went on and started this win scheme and kept it going for that 29 races. That is a hard thing to do. You only got 2 minutes in that race, so you can't make any mistakes. And you're racing him over a 2-year period. You have to keep him healthy, trained in, because he's racing the top colts in the Maritimes. And that is very, very difficult to do, but he succeeded with it.
3/4, 1:26 flat. He's gonna destroy the track record in here. That's Firm's Phantom. You're watching win 21 in a row here. Racing second, Mitchell Paul. I gotta go on the outside third. Apex Andy is third. Hey, Firm's Phantom and Danny Romo, smile. You're on CBC.
Danny is one of the most knowledgeable trainers I've known in my whole life. He takes care of a horse well. He knows the ins and outs of horses. If there's a problem with a soreness issue, Danny can pinpoint exactly where it is. He's very good at developing young horses. He's developed a lot of champions over his career, many champions.
If I had to add anything, I would say that I'd like to mention Danny's wife, Susan. She's been such a big part of his success simply because she's been there holding the fort. She's been his biggest cheerleader. She'll show up in her orange blouse, and Danny's driving colors are orange and black, so orange is pretty well a favorite.
Danny's wife, Susan, she's from a harness racing family, the Ratchfords. So I think that made a good combination in the sense that she knew what was going on out there. And if you have somebody at home that understands it all, that sure makes the whole thing work right.
She looks after everything. Danny looks after the racing side. Susan looks after the household side. She mows the grass. She takes care of the horses at home. And Danny couldn't make it without Susan. Like I say, she does it all. She does home renovations. You name it, she does it.
With Danny, I say yes. I think he could have moved to Ontario or to the U.S. And like some of the other Maritimes in the past, they've done very well. And I think he would have done very well. But he wanted to stay home. He was the king here for years. And he liked that, I think.
I would say in Canada, Danny'd be in the top 5 as far as I'm concerned over his career. In Atlantic Canada, I'd say he's number 1, number 2, but he's up there with the very best of them for the last 30, 40 years. And for the last 20, he's been the king of churro.
It really is a small family when it's all said and done. It's like a fraternity. All the tracks, all the horsemen, there's a deep respect for what they do and how they do it and the person that you are. And Danny's respected around the region. You know, like I say, when you get down to one word, Romo, the announcer in Charlottetown's famous for that. Here comes Romo. Romo wins again. And, you know, it's nice to see.
Oh, I don't think anybody deserves it more than Danny. Like I say, he's a great person. He's a top driver, trainer in Atlantic Canada, and yeah, he deserves to be there. I think he maybe should have been there 10 years ago.
Danny Romo's place in harness racing in Atlantic Canada is, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer in my mind. He deserves to be in here, and I was just thrilled when I was asked to do this, because I called my mother and told her, and she said, "Oh, that's great." She said, "Do a good job." So I hope it works out. But no, I'm just thrilled for Danny and for Susan, and the boys are proud too. And it's really fitting, I think, that Danny's in the Hall of Fame.
Romo, I think you deserve this honor of getting into the Sports Hall of Fame here. It's your hometown now for the last 30 years, and nobody deserving more than you to get into this Hall of Fame. I consider you an all-round horseman, and been very successful in what you've done. Congratulations.
2017 East Hants Sport Hall of Fame inductee, Danny Romo.